there's consumers that are afraid of change. I think we all are inherently afraid of change, but it's happened before. And unfortunately, with the last iterations of change, we did see massive disappearance of corporations and rebirths of economic, drivers. Of the Fortune 100 companies that existed at the beginning of the concept of Fortune 100, when that first got published, I think that must have been the 1960s. But of the Fortune 100 companies that first got published, there's only one left on the Fortune 500, and so all other 99 are gone. That one company is at the very bottom of the list now, which is GE. And so General Electric is the last company standing. And the only reason it's standing is because it's actually tens of thousands of companies. It did a good job of diversifying its portfolio and it became an innovation hub, and it became basically a business accelerator system rather than a corporation that had a product and was doing that. So it survived for its ability to do biodiversity and adaptation. And so the rest of everything disappeared on that Fortune 100. So for all the CEOs that might be gnashing their teeth, as they feel the change happening, they have to know, with the history of business, that change is radical in these times of severe instability. And the end of the 1800s was a big change of this, where you're going from the robber baron kind of stuff with the railroad industry and all that being the drivers to suddenly manufacturing and technologies starting to take over, and the war machine became the biggest business of the first half of the 20th century. So the companies that were building tanks and planes and innovating in that space became the real drivers of massive economics, and so the war machines became the biggest economies. Towards the end of the 20th century, we started to see the emergence of the tech industry as the driver in information technology. So it'd be like, your software companies suddenly became all the new billionaires, and that certainly accelerated in the early 2000s. But then, I'd say from 2005 to current, the last 15 years, the biggest companies in the world are now pharmaceutical and healthcare industries. In the United States, that's a $3.8 trillion a year direct expenditure on those companies' profits. And so we're pouring $3.8 trillion of taxpayer and hard-fought private dollars into the pockets of those pharmaceutical and healthcare companies that have become monopolies. And so we've seen these extraordinary shifts in what are the billionaire, multi-billionaire, Fortune 100 companies. Which ones are? They keep changing. And unfortunately, they are becoming more and more extractive to life, and that's how they get bigger and bigger. And so the healthcare industry is the biggest and most extractive form of energetic draw on life on the planet. And that's ironic for it to call itself a healthcare system, but that's where we stand today. The U.S. Healthcare system, chronic disease management, $3.8 trillion is 5 times larger than our entire defense and military budgets. And so 100 years ago, military machine was the biggest driver. And even up until the late 1990s and all of that, you have companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin and all these kind of government contractors who are building all the multi-billion-dollar jets and aircraft carriers and nuclear weapons, and they were driving the economy. And that they're not driving the economy today, and pharmaceutical companies are 5 times bigger than these government, military complexes ever dreamed themselves to be, is an extraordinary statement of extractive capacity. And unfortunately, it was bad for humans when we were killing each other through war, but it's horrific for the entire planet when our science of destruction of biodiversity at the microcellular level becomes our main business. And so we're doing it through chemotherapy, antibiotics, herbicides, pesticides, and the like. And so those companies, 5 times bigger than the military complex, the industrial medical complex, is built itself as a war machine against life itself. And so we're trying to kill cells, we're trying to kill bacteria, we're trying to kill weeds, we're trying to kill anything alive. And that's the biggest business we've ever created. So we brought ourselves to the brink through that extractive march from let's build railroads and do global exchange to let's let's build war machines to let's build technologies of software that accelerate consumer behavior and the extraction of resources on the planet to let's extract life itself to the healthcare industry. I think we finally reached that pendulum swing of pinnacle, and so we have extracted everything we can possibly extract. We can't come up with a bigger fear narrative than we did with the pandemic. That was as big as it got on planet Earth.